Most people call him the greatest of all time because of his footwork, his speed, and his 3 heavyweight titles. But Muhammad Ali once said, "Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth." Ali didn't just shake up the world of sports. He shook up the conscience of humanity. He was a poet in a world of brawlers. He was a man who stood up to the most powerful government on earth and said no, risking his wealth and his prime to stay true to his soul. But there is a bright side to Ali that the cameras often missed. The secret acts of kindness, the millions of dollars given to the poor, the way he used his trembling hands to light a fire of hope for billions. Today, we go beyond the rumble in the jungle to look at the man who truly became the king of hearts. This is the legend of Muhammad Ali. The story of the greatest began with a theft. In 1954, 12-year-old Cassius Clay had his brand new red bicycle stolen. Furious, he told a local police officer named Joe Martin that he wanted to whup the thief. Martin told him, "You better learn how to fight first." Cassius didn't just learn to fight, he learned to fly. But even as a teenager winning the Olympic gold medal in Rome, he faced a world that wouldn't let him eat at certain counters because of the color of his skin. Instead of becoming bitter, he became brilliant. He realized that his voice was just as fast as his jab. He began to rhyme. He began to predict rounds. He was the first athlete to realize that fame was a platform. He wasn't just Cassius Clay from Louisville. He was a global ambassador in the making. He chose the name Muhammad Ali, signaling to the world that he belonged to himself and his creator, not to the expectations of others. In 1967, at the absolute peak of his physical powers, Ali did something no other athlete had the courage to do. He refused to be drafted into the Vietnam War on the grounds of his religious and moral beliefs. He was stripped of his title. He was banned from boxing for over 3 years. He faced prison. He lost millions of dollars. But this is where the bright side of his character truly shone. Instead of hiding, Ali spent those years traveling to college campuses. He spoke about peace. He spoke about racial justice. He spoke about the power of the individual mind. He showed a generation that a man's worth isn't measured by his bank account, but by the weight of his convictions. When he finally returned to the ring, he wasn't just a boxer. He was a folk hero. He had won the fight of the century before he ever stepped back through the ropes. Ali's fame was a universal passport. In Africa, he was a king. In Asia, he was a brother. In America, he was an icon. But he used this bright side of fame for things that had nothing to do with boxing. In 1990, when Iraq invaded Kuwait and took 15 American hostages, Ali, already struggling with the early stages of Parkinson's, flew to Baghdad. Against the advice of the U.S. government, he met with Saddam Hussein. He stayed for a week, visiting schools and hospitals. He used his presence to negotiate. Because of Ali, those 15 men went home to their families. He didn't do it for the headlines. He did it because he believed that the greatest had a responsibility to the least. Whether he was delivering food to North Korea or medical supplies to Cuba, Ali was proof that one man's spirit can cross any border. In 1996, the world held its breath as a man with trembling hands held a torch high above Atlanta. It was the most watched moment in television history. Muhammad Ali, the man who once moved like lightning, was now moving with the slow, steady grace of a mountain. He didn't hide his illness. He used his Parkinson's as another platform to teach the world about courage and dignity. He showed us that even when the body slows down, the heart can still race. He spent his final years dedicated to the Muhammad Ali Center, a place built not to celebrate his knockouts, but to teach the 6 core principles of his life: confidence, conviction, dedication, giving, respect, and spirituality. He wanted to ensure that the bright side of his fame would continue to light the path for children who were born without a red bicycle of their own. Muhammad Ali passed away in 2016, but he is still the greatest. Not because he could punch, but because he could love. He taught us that fame is only valuable if you use it to lift others up. He taught us to be proud of who we are. And he taught us that the toughest fight isn't in a ring. It's the fight to remain a good person in a difficult world. Ali's life was a masterclass in the bright side of fame. If his story inspired you to stand a little taller today, hit that like button. Subscribe to the bright side of fame for more stories of the legends who changed the world.